like to describe it is anytime you're watching a game broadcast, specifically in my case, if it's football or college baseball, and you see something on the screen that looks like it's been edited beforehand. It's not game action. It's not like highlights from the play that just happened, but it may be like highlights of, Travis Etienne from all of his great runs through the season. I edit those during the week and I prepare them to be available to the broadcast. I was really lucky in the sense that I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I came to Clemson. And I had the awesome experience of getting to tour the university with Joe, who's on this call right now. And he kind of laid out everything that the sports communication program was going to look like for me, which the first one that came across and came to fruition for me was this company called iSportsWeb.com. And that's something that I started working with summer going into my sophomore year. So what I was doing for them was basically freelance writing. I was sending 2 articles in per week. And really what that did was I had never written a sports article before. Like I had written plenty of papers, but I had never written a sports article. So I was just getting those reps in a pretty safe place. I was maybe like the largest view count on an article would be maybe 2,000. Like I was really just kind of getting those reps and starting that whole process to build my career outside of academics. And it also kind of served as a good way for me to kind of start creating that space for me socially. So what I was doing was I would, present my stories on the internet. So I created, more of a social presence for promoting my stories that I was doing. I was promoting my stories on Twitter, starting to follow a lot of the beat writers at Clemson, a lot of the accounts that were writing similar stories. And from there, I was starting to get a little bit of traction, and I had a company called the Clemson Insider follow me. And they ended up reaching out to the communications department because they were looking for an intern. And they had seen my writing and they were like, this girl's writing, she's a Clemson student. Is there any way we can get in contact with her about maybe doing an internship? So from that conversation, then that ended up turning into basically the position I had for 3 years while I was in college, and probably the most integral role that I had in my career to kind of get me to where I am right now. So that I started going into my sophomore year. It also put me in the position where I was now in the room with other companies that I would like to get experience from. So instead of me reaching out blindly to a bunch of different companies to see if I could get experience, I was in the interview rooms with them. They were seeing me work on a day-to-day basis. I built up a repertoire with them. They knew me. They knew that I was going to be a professional. They knew that I was working in that field already. So that kind of helped propel me into a bunch of different positions that I had. It also really helped that Clemson was doing really well athletically. So companies like ESPN were always at these interview sessions. And that did help me build those connections that I ended up using later on. From there, I ended up working with ESPN U Campus Connection. It was a good opportunity for me because I was kind of one of the first people who was like pitching all of these Clemson stories to turn into packages on these calls with, students from all over different schools and everything. So I got to do a lot of really cool stuff with that. Wasn't paid or anything. I would just go out, shoot, produce a little package and send it along. And it was just a good way to get kind of those reps in. The videos didn't go anywhere other than Vimeo, but it was a good way to get those reps in and kind of get, some experience with, talking to people from ESPN and stuff like that. And that kind of led to WSPA because I knew that I needed to get some more experience in that space and the TV side of things. When that summer going into my junior year came about, they had my resume on file and they called me and said, hey, Eddie recommended you for an internship. Would you be available to come in 2 times a week and work in our news department? So I was like, absolutely. So I started to tack that on my junior year. I was going into the office, literally sitting at the assignment desk, listening to the police scanner and helping aggregate news content on the website for hours and hours and hours. I drove an hour both ways, 2 times a week. And I knew I didn't want to be in the news realm of things, but it was kind of a way to pay my dues. I was going out with reporters, building a really good repertoire with the people at the station, learning all of the different skills, because the skills are still transferable to the sports side of things. It was just a different type of content. I had built up enough repertoire with the sports department where they were like, hey, since you did this news side of things for so long, like, why don't you join us? So I joined over on the sports side and then was with them for my entire rest of my career at Clemson. I had this news background, and I was also taking this broadcast journalism course with Wanda, and she was running this UPIC internship for Clemson News Now. And she was like, hey, if you want to get some more experience, come do some news packages for me, and you'll help build your reel. Like, I can't guarantee that it'll be sports, but it'll be stuff around Clemson. You'll get some on-camera experience, shooting, editing, reporting, all the works. So I did that for a little while. I was working for now 4 companies at one time. I was working for WSPA, ESPN Campus Connection, Sports Illustrated Campus Rush, which I haven't talked about yet, but I'll get into that, and the Clemson Insider at the same time. And the way that worked out is every single company needed something different from me. So I was able to kind of use the access that I had through holding those positions to kind of address every single need. For Sports Illustrated Campus Rush, it was basically just social platforms. So I was already working on game days. I was already working on the field. I would be on the field helping out with doing photography, running cards, doing graphics, and then doing interviews afterwards. It sounds like a lot, but it was really manageable. And it did teach me how to be versatile, and it taught me how to manage my time and manage my expectations. So those were really good transferable skills that I use all the time now in my career. This is really important because without these relationships that I developed within the department, I wouldn't have the support that I think that has been hugely successful for me in being able to advance in my career and even do things like this. Like, I was the sports communication representative for the Dean's Undergraduates Advisory Council, a communications ambassador, and I studied abroad with Lori, who's on this call. And those kind of helped me, 1, understand how, everything worked, and 2, I built much stronger connections with my professors and people within the department, to the point where, when it comes to the time where you need recommendations for jobs, my recommendations may look a little bit different from somebody who just had that experience of being in the class with them. So I did this program immediately once I graduated called the Sports Journalism Institute. Like 10-day crash course in journalism. It was really hard. It was in combination with the University of Missouri. It was 12 students. We were all in it together. Just really, really tough boot camp on everything that you need to know about journalism. But the most important thing for that was they helped place us into postgraduate internships. My postgraduate internship was with ESPN, the magazine. So now it's kind of coming together how I ended up at ESPN. So I did that from June to August of 2017 after graduating, and then turned that into a full-time job by meeting with people every single day that I was there. I was always using my lunchtime to network with different people and try to get to know as many people as I possibly could. I started off as a production assistant in Bristol, did the whole Sports Center highlight kind of thing. I was cutting down games to fit re-air purposes. If you ever seen we're now moving you ahead due to time constraints, I was doing that for a very long time. So I did that for about a year. A position opened up in the Charlotte office. It was a lateral transfer, but it was in the event side rather than the studio side. And it was specifically in college sports. here for about 2 years. I've since been promoted from a production assistant to a content associate. I've been a content associate for a little over a year now, and I've moved on from working on volleyball and softball to now I'm the lead on college baseball, the lead content associate on college baseball and spring football, and then ended up this year getting to work on launching football on the ACC network, which is really awesome because I got to do that back at Clemson for the Clemson Georgia Tech game. You need to learn everything, like every single opportunity that people will give you to learn anything about the industry, take it and then decide from there what it is that you actually really want to do. From that, decide what you want to do, make a plan for how you're going to get there, and then make all of your decisions based on getting you closer to what your end goal is. I can't stress enough how small the sports industry is and how everybody is so randomly connected, and it's not just connections, like it's not just a list of people that you know, it's the relationships that you have with those people. You're not going to get every single role that you apply for, and that's okay. You never give up, and then you keep going and you keep trying, and you keep building relationships with people, even if they tell you no, not right now. It doesn't mean no for forever. One of the most interesting things for me from when I left Clemson and went into my internship with ESPN, I was shocked by how much they let me do as an intern. I was working, my first magazine issue that I worked on was the ESPN body issue. And for me, that was a project that like I was even thankful to be in the meetings for. And they looked at me and they're like, hey, you're going to be in charge of this whole entire page. Do with it whatever you like. We kind of want to do something different than our usual template. And I was like, I'm designing this page? Like, you want me, my first project for the magazine, to design this entire page? And that's just kind of how my entire internship went. And it was a really awesome experience because that helped me, like, yes, I was an intern, but that helped me be seen by my colleagues as a professional. I'll just go through day by day what football season looks like for me. I think that would give the best example. So I traveled every single weekend with my football crew, and that doesn't always happen on the event side. It'll happen every once in a while, but I was in a really unique position because of the network first launching. They kind of needed an extra hand on set. Monday would be a pretty chill day. I would just start to like kind of look into what our matchup would be. So I was assigned to a crew. So I was on the ACC Network's primetime crew for the whole season. So I knew what our schedule was going to look like. So I would look into what our matchup was for that weekend, kind of start doing some preliminary research, see what we have from like other games. I had Clemson about 3 times this season. So I would look at some of the other stuff that we had done from other Clemson games, and see what we could reuse, see what we already kind of had, and pitch some ideas to the producer. Tuesday, we would have our like call with everybody just to kind of get on the same page about content ideas and storylines that we wanted to cover. And so from then I would get like a list of everything that we needed to make sure it makes it onto the broadcast. Then on Thursday, I would edit everything for the broadcast from about 8 to noon. During the week, I would also be communicating with the sports information director and our reporter, Katie George, and we would be kind of coordinating with what we were going to do on Thursday on site with a player, because every week we would do a player shoot of like doing something fun. Like at Clemson, we did jugs work with Amari. So I would travel out after doing all of my edits Thursday, bring all the equipment, drive to wherever we were, say it was Clemson, meet the sports information director, the player, where we're supposed to meet on Thursday, shoot, download all the clips, sometimes edit, sometimes send it to our studio people up in Bristol. We would have our set day on Friday, so that would be all day. I would go in, tell all of the people in the truck where all of the different elements were. They would load them into the truck, and then we would go through all the clips that I would pull during the week and turn those into stuff that would make it onto air. I would go out with the camera crew, film stuff around campus, any special requests, and then Saturday would roll around and I was mainly on site because I was producing the sales elements for our broadcast. So I would pick out a tailgate, coordinate with Bojangles, who was our sponsor. So that was always fun. And go around, deliver some free chicken to a tailgate and produce a little shoot, like a little tailgate video with our lovely fans, and then turn that into, I would go back into the truck, edit that package. This would probably be by like 6 o'clock on Saturday, and then go down to the field, and then I would field produce with Katie and also do social media. I would help out with our Instagram story so that we would have a live presence at all of our primetime games for the ACC Network Instagram account. So that would be Saturday. I'd probably end sometime around 3 in the morning, and then I would drive back on Sunday and do it all again the next week. It doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities out there. And even if, like, say if your goal is to work for a team, even if that team doesn't have a season right now, or that team, their season might be in question because it's in the fall, and their hiring is kind of on a freeze, that doesn't mean that you can't make those connections with people and kind of put yourself in a good position for when that job does eventually open up, because things will go back to normal, sports will return. And using this time to really focus in on different skills that you may have been wanting to build for a really long time, but haven't really truly had the time to do so. If you have the time to do something and you are in the right mental space and you've been taking care of yourself, and you now, because you are doing things from home, have a little bit more downtime, it's a great time to kind of put yourself in positions where you can learn from other people. So many people are having different Zoom conversations. There's people that are using this as an opportunity to talk to people and kind of just be there for other people and give advice. So just hop on that, even if you have to put it in on the background while you're doing something else, giving yourself that time to just kind of take in that information. I've been using it as time to Google how to use and do YouTube tutorials on how to get better at Photoshop and Adobe stuff. But also too, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your mental health first. I would not be where I am without my time at Clemson, both from a academic standpoint and from the opportunity standpoint. Now there's a whole party of Clemson people up in ESPN, which is fantastic. And I think that shows Clemson's going to be in this national conversation. But then what they also don't factor in is the relationships that I made in the communications department have been mentors for me throughout this entire time. And the experiences that I learned from being a student within the communications department are still things that I refer back to when I'm talking to people about my experiences.
Thanks for tuning in to our Perspectives Young Alumni session. These sessions are designed to connect current students with recent graduates so they can get a better understanding of what their academic discipline offers them in professional careers. If you would like to learn more or participate, please email communication@clemson.edu. We look forward to hearing from you.